and welcome back. Today, let's talk about why your house is always messy. I used to have this problem. I used to have to constantly clean. I would spend a couple hours every day cleaning my house just to stay on top of everyday mess. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And for the longest time, I thought if I could just get organized, this problem will be solved. That's my problem. It's disorganization. And although that can be a part of it, there are more reasons why your house feels out of control and it feels like it's messy all the time, or you feel like you're cleaning constantly, and nobody wants that. So today let's talk about some ways that you can eradicate for good this mess. Trust me, I know, because this is exactly what I did in my life. So I can't wait to share these tips with you. Let's hop right in. Reason number one that your house is always messy is that your stuff exceeds the natural limits or the natural boundaries of your home. Take a really good look around your house and try and look very critically at your space and just realize and notice the limits. Absolutely everything in your home is a boundary. This could be not only like a tub or a basket, but an actual drawer or a cupboard space or the corners of your room. This is all boundary. This is your home telling you you can fit this amount of stuff comfortably into the space. And it doesn't matter if you live in a very large or a very small home. Whatever the limits of your home are your specific boundaries. So everything needs to fit comfortably inside of this boundaries. And really notice, where are things spilling over? Where is there just a constant pile of clutter? Maybe it's on top of the dresser. This is a clue that your dresser is too full, so that it feels natural to put things on top of it, and it just creates mess and clutter and frustration. So try and look at your home through kind of a different lens and notice where things are not working. Having a home for every single item in your house is absolutely critical. I call these items without homes floaters, and they're a nightmare for somebody who wants to have a clean home. And what I've noticed with this for myself, tell me if you relate, is I'm still guilty of this today. I've gotten so much better and I don't have floaters the way I used to, but I still have a little basket that occasionally fills up with random items. It's like having a junk drawer. It's like, this is the drawer where we put things that we don't know where else to put them, and they just belong here in this junk drawer, this random bin, whatever it is. And part of it, I think, is laziness. I'm only speaking for myself here, but that was part of it for me, is I was too lazy to create a permanent home or actually put it away where it belonged. It was so much easier to just put it into the junk drawer and let this fill and accumulate and become a cluttered mess. So my advice to you is not to have too many of these. Maybe have one junk drawer, one basket, and then commit to going through it often, putting these items where they belong. And if it's something that truly has no home, either get rid of it or create a home for it. So this is just something to think about. If you have too many like little hot spots or accumulation areas where you put things that you don't know where they go, and suddenly that becomes the home, rethink this. Try and find more permanent and sustainable homes for these things where you will know exactly where to find the item and it won't get buried or forgotten. Otherwise, it's absolutely pointless to own it. All right, let's keep going down this path and talk about surfaces. Surfaces are a really tempting area to put things, especially using them as holding zones. It can be a really tempting thing to do. I used to use surface areas just for everyday stuff, for everyday mess, for the overflow. I used to use them for piling decorations on. You name it, I use surfaces in my home. And although they can be very useful, and it is fun to decorate them, they can also become a problem and really contribute to the mess in our home. So take a look around your surfaces specifically and see if there may be a holding area. It's kind of like the junk drawer, it's like, I don't have time to put this away right now. It's going to be really easy for me to just set it down and come back to it later. I love the one touch rule. It is something that I have committed myself to, and almost always I follow through. Not every time. So if you can't just pick it up once and put it away, go ahead and commit to coming back and getting that item within the next few minutes. Otherwise, you're going to forget. It's going to sit there, and then clutter attracts clutter. That's what we have to remember. If your child, your spouse, or yourself comes in and sees that there's already stuff piling or accumulating on the top of the piano or the top of the dresser, it is so much more natural to continue to pile things on top of that area. So trying to keep your surfaces clean and clear for the most part is a indicator to you and a clue to your family that this is not a place to just set stuff and leave it. All right, this is sort of like the one in, one out rule, but it doesn't always work for me. I've got 3 children, and it's so hard to keep on top of it as far as keeping track of everything that comes into our home. But one easy way that you can apply this and help the clutter and the overall mess in your home is every time you decorate, whatever item, however many items you set out, pull that many items away. I think one trap we fall into that makes our home look so cluttered and messy is that we just keep adding on top of our everyday decor. So we will just pull out the Christmas bin and just throw all these new decorations on top of what already exists. This ends up looking, or can end up looking, very messy. I don't know if this has been your experience, but for me, it has caused a lot of stress and chaos, especially around the holidays. So any holiday or season that you decorate for, keep this in mind. And it will help your home feel more clean and less messy, because this clutter, visual clutter, feels like a mess. So be really, really careful. Another reason your home might always feel messy is because you don't have the laundry and the dishes under control, or maybe you don't have a system for this. So I struggled with this. Every single thing I'm mentioning to you today, I struggled with. So I want you to know that you're not alone. I have so been there. But for me, one thing that contributed to a messy feeling home was not having a system for my laundry and my dishes. For laundry and dishes specifically, I like to have a 10-minute rule. After the dishwasher is done cleaning, I give myself 10 minutes to unload the dishwasher unless I've run it at night. So I try and be really, really careful not to let things back up, especially when you're using machines. The machine can only hold so much. Again, this is a boundary. So I really like to use this 10-minute rule. Same thing with laundry. After I have folded a load, I will give myself 10 minutes to get this load put away. I think as busy moms, especially busy people, but busy moms, it gets really hard to try and remember to do all of these things. Just like it's hard to remember to come back and grab an item from the holding zone, the flat surface where we've put it. But if you can just leave it in your brain for 10 minutes and then get it done, it will really, really help. It will also help you form great habits. Going along with that, I also recommend cutting down the inventory of your clothing, your kids' clothing, and your dishes. You need so much less than you think. Thankfully, we live in a day where we can easily wash dishes. We can easily wash clothes. It's no big deal. So if you have enough laundry where you only have to run 1 load a day, I think that's perfect. If you only need to run the dishwasher once a day, that's perfect. And if you end up having to hand wash a few things, I think it's totally fine. But seeing these areas where they can easily get out of control, like dishes and clothes, are so overwhelming, and they're part of our everyday life and contribute to everyday mess, I think we really need to think about cutting down the inventory. And you might be asking, well, how many should I keep? I like to start with 2 for dishes, 2 plates, 2 cups, 2 forks, 2 spoons per person. This is a great way to start. And then I have a backup tub for when company comes, but I do not mix that with my everyday dishes because it becomes too overwhelming and it starts to exceed the boundary of my kitchen. So I like to keep that completely clear, and occasionally, a few times a year, I'll pull out that other bin. So that's how I like to keep that inventory down and keep the mess down. And then for clothes, it's up to you. Some people like to keep 1 week's worth of clothing. I like to do 2 weeks worth. It just is easier for me when traveling. My kids are pretty messy and we're constantly changing clothes. So see what works for your family, but again, cut down the inventory and then make these systems, and the 10-minute rule really does work. Oh my goodness, I have to mention this because if there was one thing contributing to my house being always messy before I decluttered, before I got things under control, created systems, and changed the way I thought about my stuff, is toys. Toys were out of control in my life and created such grief for me. And now that I look back, it created grief for my kids. Cut your toy inventory in half. Start there. Unless your kids don't really have toys. But I've noticed, at least for me, that was the greatest contributor to the mess in my home. So slash your toys in half. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. If this was helpful, click subscribe. I make videos like this every week. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.